Welcome to another very interesting panel at PRPOI today. Today, our subject is magazine pitches, the cover story. And I'm very happy to tell you that today's discussion is also going to be simulcasting on YouTube. We have a brilliant media partner today with us, with the Scribe, and we have, of course, a beautiful content curation put together with my co-founders Tarunjit Ratan and Pooja Trehan Damecha. I'm going to be introducing our panelists to you now. Our first panelist is Parineeta Sethi. She is a name synonymous with wellness and luxury lifestyle in India. She has been at the forefront of these industries since the past 20 years when she pioneered the concept of a wellness lifestyle with her magazine on spas and wellness at a time when the industry was in a nascent stage. With magazines like Global Spa, Peak Life, and Millionaire Asia under her belt, ably supported by signature events like the Global Spa Awards, the Fit and Fab Show, International Wellness Conclave, Millionaire Asia Regatta, Millionaire Asia Summits, Peak Life Women Inspire Awards, Peak Life Gourmet Awards, and others, she has the industry and consumers clued in with the current trends. So here we are to welcome Parineeta. Hi Parineeta, how are you today?
Hi, everybody. How are you? Nice to be on your show, Sonali.
Wonderful to have you with us, Parineeta, today. And I'm going to now introduce our next panelist. Our next panelist is Smita Menon. She is the culinary editor and associate digital editor at Condé Nast Traveler India. As the title's first culinary editor, she has helped build the publication's strength in the F&B space via content strategies across the magazine website and social media, as well as properties such as Top Restaurant Awards. She also spearheaded the launch of the country's first ever food writing award under the Top Restaurants Award umbrella in 2018. Prior to this, she was the Mumbai editor of the lifestyle website Brown Paper Bag, where she closely tracked new developments and trends in the city's F&B space. She has been working in the lifestyle content space for more than a decade across digital, television, and print platforms. So let's have it for Smita. Hi, Smita. How are you?
Hi, I'm very well. Thank you so much for having me, Sonali, and hi, Parineeta.
Hi, thank you, ladies, for joining us today. We, of course, have a very, very interesting discussion in front of us, which is on magazines and the magazine pitches, and it's the cover story. And I'm sure magazine covers are something that you really think a lot about, and a lot of thought goes into them. So I'd love to understand from the both of you that we live in a country where we have a very robust magazine segment, magazine media, from general interest magazines, news magazines, lifestyle magazines. How is the audience demographic for the same? Who are the people who you feel have been consuming magazines in the past decade or so in the country, or in the past 5 years?
Sure. Do you want to take that, Parineeta, and then I can go?
Yeah. Okay. Fine. So, like you said, that India has traditionally been a magazine market, and people love the look, feel, actually getting a magazine in their homes. It's been something that's been going on for many years. But having said that, there are different segments. Like there is a lifestyle segment, there is a vernacular segment, there is a news segment, and three of these segments are really varied in their approach towards the demographic. I'll talk from the lifestyle and the high-end magazine point of view. We found that, of course, our magazines are very urban, but we actually surprisingly found that we were getting more and more subscriptions from the smaller cities. So places like Lucknow, Coimbatore, Jaipur, even smaller than that cities, places like Bhatinda, also we got subscriptions, which is very interesting, which means that the demographic is evolving. They're moving from the vernacular magazines, which give them home remedies, to wanting more about what's available in the world. So I think the demographic has changed. People are very interested in magazine subscriptions. And also another very interesting fact that we found was that the smaller cities tend to subscribe and the metros tend to buy it off the stands. So this is something different that we discovered. Most of our subscriptions have been coming from the smaller cities. Of course, COVID has changed that, and there are no subscriptions now, and the subscriptions are all digital. But I'm pretty sure magazines will be back soon.
Well, what about you, Smita? What are your views on this? How is your audience demographic work?
Sorry, I was on mute. So, very similar to what Parineeta said, of course, earlier people would talk of tier one cities and an SECA audience and that sort of thing. But, increasingly we are seeing subscriptions and a growing readership from tier two and tier three cities. There uh, we have people reading in Meerut, in Chandigarh, in Jaipur, in Coimbatore. So people are coming from all over, and I think especially when it comes to the market that both Parineeta and I are looking at, which is luxury, we're seeing the idea of luxury change, and that's more so for people across India. So the luxury is no longer just owning a handbag or owning a beautiful pair of shoes, but it is going on a vacation that no one else can access and having an experience that no one else can access. So that idea and notion of how we perceive luxury and what we hold valuable is also changing, and that's changing across the market. So especially when it comes to content like print media, you see that people are open to sort of treating themselves a little more when it comes to sitting down and enjoying a magazine and planning their next vacations, or where they're going out next. It's a bit of a treat in that sense, and we're seeing more and more people buy into that idea.
Very, very, very interesting. And I'm going to ask you a question which I'm to a lot of my audience, which is mainly PR professionals, are going to be very curious to know today, which is, what is the mindset of a magazine editor? How do you look at your content? How do you decide that this fits into my magazine and this is not something I would like to cover at all? Barring, of course, the very obvious question that maybe for instance, a global spa might not cover a home appliance. I'm just giving you like an example, but just give us a sense of, Parineeta, with you to begin with. What is it that you're looking for when you look at your content for a magazine?
See, the most important thing for any magazine is to understand what the audience wants. So, like for example, take a global spa for an example. If we would cover everything to do with wellness, and wellness is a very, very wide space. Of course, going to home appliances, maybe lesser, but we have positioned ourselves as a wellness lifestyle magazine. So it's not just like the name may say global spa, but it's not just spas. It's anything that makes you feel good. So it's what we actually need to cover in the magazine is anything that makes you happy. It's a magazine which is about happiness. It's about contentment. It's about feeling good. So we would like to cover. Of course, we won't cover things like somebody sends us something to do with a financial company that we would say, okay, that goes into Peak Life. Wouldn't go into global spa. But we would definitely cover a driving holiday, which is cars, because the driving holiday makes you feel good. So having said that, we would like to cover anything that makes a person feel good and helps in a wellness lifestyle. So that has been our track so far. So whether it's travel, whether it's food, whether it's cooking, whether it's immunity-based stuff, whether it's like I said, driving holidays, everything comes under the gamut of wellness. So we have with a very wide range of things we can cover.
Okay, great. How about you, Smita? I mean, how do you decide that this is what goes into my magazine this month and this is not going to be cut?
Sure. So we do have broad themes that we work with, for each of our issues. However, everything that fits into, the broad space of travel, the idea of luxury travel has also changed. It's not just, a holiday where you go and spend a huge amount of money, but it's essentially, somewhere you go and get an experience that no one else has had before, or not too many people have had before. So whether it is, going stargazing in Ladakh, for example, is an experience that not too many people have had before, but is unique and is different and is, is something that will stay with you for a long time. So it's not just that, it has to be a super fancy, ultra luxurious hotel opening that we would cover. But really anything that broadly fits into the travel scope. So it could be even this idea of travel and discovery. So like I said, not only related to international borders and that sort of thing, but we have started doing, and we've seen a lot of interest, especially online, in terms of backyard tourism. So getting people to rediscover their own local environment. So whether it is a drive that's about 2 hours off Bombay and what you can discover there, or even going to a national park or like a Humayun's tomb within Delhi, and discover what are the lesser known things about that specific area. Those are things that people are really interested in. So really anything that broadly fits that theme, and of course something that's an interesting and captivating story. So a lot has been written about history and travel and culture and all of that. So we're always looking for a slightly new perspective or a different way of seeing. Like the Taj Mahal has been written about more than 500 times for sure, but how are you revisiting that story in a way that's different, in a way that's unique, and in a way that will make you think, oh, okay, I never thought about it that way. So that's the sort of mindset that we have, that of course we're looking for something new, but we're also looking for a new way of seeing, in that sense, for something that may be old.
Lovely. And I'm getting a lot of audience questions, and they somehow, some of them are pretty similar to what I have always intended to ask you. So I think what is really distinctive about every magazine is its cover. How does a magazine decide? How do you, I know a lot of you work on themes, and your cover has to be a reflection of that theme. So how is that cover ever decided? Please share this secret with us today, because I think a lot of us wonder why that particular picture. Is it the merit of the picture? Is it visual content that makes the cut? I know a lot of times you have photo shoots for this. So can you share a little about it, Parineeta? Maybe if you can start with you. Parineeta, your mic is off.
Right, here we go. Yeah, like Smita said, every issue of ours will have a theme. Like, for example, there may be a theme which is on anti-aging. So then we would obviously look for somebody who fits the bill. So it would be then the decision would be somebody who is not too young, who is, say, maybe in their 40s, but looks fantastic. So that's anti-aging. Then there may be a wedding special. Then we would look for somebody who's not yet married and try to shoot him or her, or maybe both of them, in a beautiful locale. So the covers are always chosen based on the theme. And we at Global Spa have do a lot of international shoots. Of course, that's unfortunately stopped for now. But we shoot a lot at international locales. And again, the locale is also chosen based on the theme. So the covers are always decided based on the theme and the fitment of the person. So that's how. That's for Global Spa. For Peak Life, our covers are always, of course, about achievers, about people who have achieved something in life, and again, theme based. If we're doing a wealth management special, we would pick up somebody from a wealth company. If we are doing a tech issue, it would be somebody from the tech field. So it's very, very clear. It has to be in fitment with the topic that you're going to cover in the magazine, with the cover story. They have to be part of the cover story.
How about you, Smita? I mean, travel needs visuals and locales. So how does that work?
Absolutely. It for our covers, really, it's more about something that will inspire you to travel, and something that will make you, look at it and think, wow, what is that place? I really want to go there. So, for us, as compared to our other sister titles, there's this joke about how, Goa and Kashmir are, our Deepika Padukone and our Katrina Kaif. Because those are the ones that really sort of anything that's shot in those destinations is something that a lot of people identify with, and it's something that's aspirational but still accessible. So those are the things that we sort of keep in mind. Of course, it has to go with the overall theme of that specific issue. It has to be able to draw you in. It has to be able to tell a larger story. And of course, attract you if you just see that cover. There has to be something that draws you to it and makes you think, that's very different, that's very unique. And I think, going forward, we're seeing this internationally. We're also seeing it a little bit in India as well, is that titles are using covers as a way to sort of make a statement. So, whether it's a political statement or any sort of statement, the decision of who you choose to put on your cover and what they're wearing or how they're standing or all of those things tie into a message that you're sending across. It's not just let's just put the star on the magazine because people are going to see that star's face and our magazine is going to sell. It really ties into a larger message that you're sending across.
Thank you for that. That's very, very, I'm sure this is going to be very helpful for a lot of people out there today. I'm going to ask you another question, which stems from our discussion before the panel started, where we noticed that all magazines have now moved beyond being just content issues. They are actually offering so much more. There are awards, there are events. How does that pan out for a magazine? I think today we can't just look at a magazine as just a book which you read for articles or look at for great visuals. So they're, I would say, purveyors of a lifestyle. So how do you and Parineeta, you've started so many events with your magazines. Would you like to begin with telling us why you decided to add events to the magazine space? How does it all work? And why most magazines today have think tanks, panels, awards, summits?
Yeah, okay. See, we started doing events like more than 10, 15, in fact, 15 years ago. Our first event, which was the Spa Awards, we did, it's now 16 years ago that we did the Spa Awards. Magazines can no longer be sole, that's it. I print a magazine, I send it out to people, and that's it. It's very important to engage people. So every magazine company has to have a 360-degree approach. You have to have a magazine, you have to have strong digital content, you have to have BTL activities, and you have to engage your customers. So every client today who advertises with us or does some advertorials or anything with us wants to go beyond the magazine, and which is what we have to give them. So customers want to be engaged, clients want to be engaged with the audience, which is where events come in. So unless you give a 360-degree approach to your magazine, there is no way you can be successful. And that's what we do with all our magazines. With each of our magazines, we have a signature event and many smaller events also that we do, which helps the customer, the clients, to get engaged with audience, which is what really works. That is the reason why we have so many events. And now the situation has happened that our events team is probably larger than our edit team, because that's the way it goes. Of course, the editorial team also gets involved with the events because that's important. You're sending out a message to people through your events. So both the things have to be equal. The editorial as well as your events and marketing team have to be given equal importance today. And that's the way to work.
Okay, it's very interesting. How about you, Smita? I mean, you have so many wonderful events. Some of them are eagerly awaited. So how does that work pan out for you?
Very similarly, I think like Parineeta rightly said, people, brands especially, are looking to engage with an audience beyond just, a print ad. Increasingly we're going to see that, there's going to be a lot of focus on experiences and, experiential touch points. So as a brand, how are you making yourself more relevant? By being a thought leader in a specific space. So that could be by creating an awards property that that awards certain people from a specific industry. It could be running panel discussions around a specific topic where because of the magazine that you have and the network you have, you're able to pull in different kinds of people. So it could be a series of chats on Instagram or on Facebook. So really, it's not necessarily related specifically to events, but also how many different kinds of platforms a brand is able to sort of spread its tentacles across, and reach as many audiences as possible. So events is of course one of them, and of course increasingly is a big revenue stream for a lot of publications. but more so it's really about and I think I was mentioning this to Pooja earlier, is that most brands today don't call themselves a magazine company, but they call themselves a multimedia company, because they're able to sort of engage across different platforms and have different touch points for their specific brand.
Very interesting, and we come to, of course, the most important thing that has happened in our life lately, which is the lockdown and the COVID impact of COVID-19, and we have seen the world move to a more digital. As you said, Parineeta, earlier in the conversation, that subscriptions kind of went down in terms of print, but they are high in terms of digital subscriptions. So, can you share with us how this is impacted the magazine sector, and has it made you change or evolve as well along with it, as a lot of businesses today have?
Yes, absolutely. The COVID situation has helped us to speeden up our digital footprint. I mean, before COVID, we were working on our digital and it was an important aspect, but the magazine always took center stage. COVID has helped us make our digital platform so much stronger. In a simple thing, I used to be a digital nerd. Now I'm a digital expert. COVID has helped with that. I had no option but to do that, and which is the case with a lot of our editorial people, with our marketing, with everybody. Everybody has had to go digital. Subscriptions in terms of the digital e-magazine going out to people, we have increased our footprint. We have tied up with a lot of corporates to send out our magazine, and especially it has worked with wellness because wellness became such a big buzzword. So if I went to a corporate and said, can I send this magazine to your clients, their first reaction was yes, yes, wellness, we want to do that for people. We did a lot of events with banks in terms of digital sessions. So yes, the COVID has had its pluses and its minuses. Of course, the revenues have gone down dramatically, which everybody knows, but it has helped us increase our reach in a very big way. Like, for example, we did a session a couple of months ago on wellness tourism. In a normal situation, if I did it in Delhi, I would only have people from Delhi attending, or if I had some budget, I would get in somebody from maybe a Bombay or a Thailand. Here, I had people from Spain, from Germany, from Thailand, from US, Maldives. They were all on one panel. And the audience was just as eclectic. So, in a way, the COVID has helped us reach out to a much wider audience. And well, I hope COVID goes away and we can come back to the print version also, because we love print. But digitally, we have strengthened ourselves in a very, very big way. Not only for the magazine, but individually for people like me also.
That's really good to know. What about you, Smita? How have you all coped with this, and have you seen a greater digital pivot for your publication?
Yeah, no. Initially, of course, there was a lot of uncertainty. Just in March, when no one knew what was going on. So we skipped an issue because we were unable to sort of reach our printers and everything was shut. But apart from that, we have been putting out new issues. We're a bi-monthly, so once in every 2 months, there's a new issue on stands. Of course, it's been a big challenge because you're so used to working in an office with a team and just sort of looking over someone's shoulder and correcting something or seeing how things are going, and moving that entire process to something that happens over Zoom has been quite a challenge. But however, like Parineeta also said, we have seen a greater rise in the number of people coming to our website. More people have, I think, just time to consume a lot of content. So, that's one where we've seen readerships really increase on the website, on social media. And another interesting thing, actually, what we found is that subscriptions for the magazine as well increased. I think it's a function of people not going out and not being able to buy the magazine on the newsstand. So they just subscribe thinking, okay, fine, it's just going to come home like everything else that is being delivered to my house. Now a lot more people were willing to subscribe, which was not something that many thought of before. There was a very set, I think you'd mentioned that earlier, between people in the cities picking up the copy on stands, and people in smaller cities subscribing. But we've seen that change as well, because a lot of people are open to sort of just having the magazine come home. So that's of course been a big shift. But for us, especially because we are a travel magazine, it was quite hard to cover travel when no one is traveling. So we had to get extremely creative about the kind of content as well that we were putting out. To make sure that we are, of course, relevant. We're cognizant of what's going on, and we're still providing up to date, inspirational, aspirational content for everyone. So for us also to change our mindset of what a travel magazine does and what kind of content works and doesn't work, that was also quite a learning for us.
So it comes to a question. Do you think that today magazine editors and your writing team or your visualizing team now has to think more in terms of digital formats as opposed to print formats? Will the content change from digital to print? How will you now treat this entire thing going forward? Because obviously if people have become habituated to digital formats, or they've taken digital subscriptions, they are not going to immediately give that up even if COVID goes away in the next few months. So how do you intend to view this whole area?
See, the editors will have to change their approach, obviously. So they have to understand SEOs, algorithms, keywords and things like that. They will have to start understanding that much better. They will have to straddle both the horses. It's very simple. You can't be just a print editor and separately a digital editor. The same person will have to understand both the things and be able to do both the things. Also, editors now will have to start understanding that writing long stories doesn't work on digital. It has to be short, it has to be crisp, it has to be attractive, it has to make a person want to open the article. So there is going to be a little bit of a learning experience that the editors will have to go through. And that's the way the world will work, and there's no other way out. We'll all have to evolve, and we'll have to understand how the digital spectrum works.
Okay. How about you, Smita? How do you see this happening?
Sorry, Sonali, I just lost you at the beginning of your question. If you could just repeat that question.
Yes, so we are noticing, as you said, as you yourself said, that your digital, obviously, magazines editions are growing more, and print will probably be a smaller segment or a different. So how are you and your writing teams visualizing print versus digital today? Are you having to think more in terms of digital formats? Do you have to unlearn certain learnings from print when you move to digital? Will you plan to have different content for your print edition and different for your digital going forward?
Right. So, for us, actually, we've been very fortunate to have a very sort of cohesive team. Different teams have different styles of working, where they have a print team and a digital team, and print does only print, digital does only digital. But that's something that, we haven't worked with those sort of boundaries. So, so since day one, much before COVID even existed, the print team knew how to write for the web, and the web team knew how to write online, and that really helped us, during this entire phase, because everyone was sort of tuned to knowing the basics. Of course, there was a lot of learning, in terms of SEO and where is traffic coming from, and how do you sort of capitalize on any keyword that might be sort of trending at a certain point. But I think just having that natural understanding of how things work really helped in a sense. But coming back to your specific question, of course, people will still read magazines, and people will still consume news and all sorts of information online. But it's just a matter of presenting that information At the end of the day, an editorial team is still a team of storytellers. And the thing is, you're telling a story, whether it's in print, whether it's on social media, whether it's on the website. You're at the end of the day, you're still telling a story, but how you tell that story is changing. And that's something that that teams across the board are having to figure out, of how that same story is being replicated across different platforms. It's not like you can just upload a PDF onto Instagram and think that, okay, people are going to read my story. You have to be very creative about how you're promoting something from print on social media, or vice versa.
Okay. There, share a few secrets with us. How do you think brands should today engage with magazines? If there are young PR professionals out there, how do you advise them to, in today's world, to approach a magazine? How do they refine their pitch? I have heard, stories from a lot of magazine editors where they feel that sometimes, they don't even look at the magazine masthead and they don't even know who's the fashion writer or who's the beauty writer. And you both are smiling, so I think you both have enough to share. But tell us in a more positive way, how can PR professionals or brand storytellers engage with magazines today? Have you had some good examples? Parineeta, could you begin with giving us some tips? You've been in the industry for so long.
Yeah, the thing is that a person, before they approach a magazine, need to understand the magazine. Like you said yourself, like if somebody sends us content for a wellness magazine related to financial, we're obviously not going to cover it. It won't make sense. So they need to understand the magazine and then send us the content. They need to send us content which is well written, which is crisp, which is which is usable. And they have to also try and create some kind of a content with which we can engage our audience, because like I said, magazines are now trying to do more and more engagement with audience. Like we do a lot of contests now, and contests work very well. Like if you say that you're going to get a holiday in Maldives, it's going to get people really, really excited and interested. So they need to send us content which is relevant. Also, my advice is to not look at numbers. This doesn't apply to PR agencies, more applies to advertising agencies. They would usually look at how many numbers this magazine has. That's not the way anymore. It's the quantity is not important. It's the quality of the reader which is more important. So try and make the content relevant for the magazine. It's definitely not one size fits all. So don't randomly send us information which is not relevant. So when you're sending me information for Global Spa, make it specific to Global Spa. When you're sending me for Peak Live, make it specific for Peak Live. Or if you feel that there is a fitment, call me, talk to me, discuss with me. You may have an idea which about the positioning of your brand in Global Spa, which I am not able to see, which you may be able to tell me that, look, this is what the brand has to offer. So talk to us. Communicate with us, send us relevant information. But I have one advice for the young PR kids also. Please don't overdo it. I had one kid who used to call me up 6 times a day, send me emails 6 times a day. And because I knew the owner of that agency, I didn't block her. Otherwise, I would have blocked her. So it's a question of knowing where to draw a line and giving us relevant content. Because, we receive information and content from many agencies. So if one person keeps on sending us, it becomes a little, well, I won't say annoying, because these young kids are only trying to do their job, but they need to know where to draw the line and send us relevant content. Most important is send us relevant content. Understand the magazine and then send us content.
Very interesting. What about you, Smita?
Yeah, absolutely. With Parineeta on that one, you have to do your basic homework before you reach out to an editor. Understand what the brand is about, understand what they've covered, understand what a specific editor may or may not be open to. So I'm not saying be a stalker, but if you can, try and glean any information from their social media pages, from the articles they write, from just the way they sort of conduct themselves. I would say do that before you approach. And then when you do approach, try and build a relationship, because most people are, most, like Parineeta said, we get a ton of these emails every day. So how will your email stand out as compared to all of these emails. I may be more open to your email if I know who you are, and if you've tried to establish a relationship with me, as opposed to me just receiving an email from someone saying, request you to carry this in your publication. Building a relationship goes a long way, so that the relationship doesn't feel so transactional, where someone is calling you to say, this is what's happening in my brand, and please put it in your magazine, and then there's some pushback saying, we can't do this, and that sort of thing. So I would say, just on a human level, start a relationship, understand the brand. It does take a longer time, of course, but you may think that mass mailing a bunch of editors is just something to tick off on your list. But if you're really able to cultivate a relationship with someone, then I would say that would go a much longer way in terms of getting your story sort of heard in that sense. And I think also, more than anything else, as editors, we're all looking for interesting stories. So try and figure out, what is that story behind your brand? Is it about the founders who have an interesting story? Is it about the inspiration behind the brand? Is it a larger story about how the brand fits into what's happening in the world right now? Try and craft a story about your brand and then deliver it to an editor, as opposed to just saying, this is my brand and that's it. So that shows an editor that you're sort of thinking about the different avenues where your brand could fit in, as opposed to just throwing a dart and seeing where it lands.
Thank you for that. I think this has been really helpful in terms of getting people to understand. I have tons of questions coming in. So, one question which is very interesting from the audience I'm getting is, tell us how brand campaigns will now change for digital formats, considering offline events might not happen anytime soon. Parineeta, you were just speaking about a lot of interesting digital formats that you've done for banks and etc. Have you done something for a particular brand that has really worked online right now, or have you done something very creative in these current times? Because we do realize that maybe next 6 months we won't get events. How do you see these brands getting to engage with you now?
We are, in fact, interestingly getting quite a few brands wanting to do digital campaigns with us. Now, in the digital campaign, it is not going to be just about, okay, you do a post. It's going to be about engagement. Like, we have a beauty brand which actually wants us to engage some audience. So it's going to be a lot more exhaustive. In an event, it was actually, in fact, I would say that event was simpler. They would give us their sponsorship, we would put it at the event, promote it, and that's it. Here we are talking about a month-long campaign, that this is the brand. You do a whole social media around it, send out emailers, send out the brand to our clients and engage them. So yes, we are getting a few, not as many as would have happened in the normal situation, but we are getting a lot of brands asking us to craft interesting engagements for them. So it's become very engagement led, and that's the only way forward. We all have to bring our creative juices to the fore. We have to think beyond, and we have to think beyond just simple advertising and events now. So the more creative we are, the more ideas we're able to give to a brand, the more likely they are to engage with us and sponsor something and make sure we get some revenues in. So creativity is the key.
Nice to know that. How about you, Smita? How have you, especially with travel, like you said, everything is shut. In fact, even travel destinations was shut for so long.
Yeah.
So how have you?
So I mean, we also had to get quite creative in that sense, and like Parineeta rightly pointed out, everything is moving digital. We're probably not going to be able to host 250, 300 people in a banquet hall at any time in the near future. I do hope that changes, but publications are getting quite creative in terms of what they're doing. One of the things that we board is they were excited to of course, they knew that people couldn't travel to their destination, but they still wanted to be top of mind in terms of a destination that as soon as things open up, I'm going there. So something we did for them is get people to post pictures of what happened. Sorry, can you hear me? Sonali, I think you're on mute. Am I audible?
Yes, I think we all lost you for about
Okay.
a minute. Repeat. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so I was saying, this destination still wanted to be top of mind, so they asked people to post pictures that that they might have had, when they travel to that specific destination, and that created a lot of excitement. So, and it was, we thought that it's asking people to do a lot, where you had to post information and tell us about your trip the last time you went there, and all of those things. But a lot of people were just excited to tell us their stories, and excited to tell us about, what happened when I traveled to this particular destination. And that was an extremely successful brand campaign that we did. Similarly, we did another sort of series of sessions where we connected different people from the food industry to talk about a specific topic. Earlier, a lot of things, a lot of discussions, a lot of these online sessions were people talking specifically like to one chef or to one farmer or that sort of thing. But we brought in different people from across the industry, and we were able to sort of connect the dots in that sense. So and sort of seamlessly integrated the brand within that session. So that really worked for the brand in terms of a piece of content. So really, I think we're all just going to get a lot more creative in terms of how we're using brands, how we're working with brands, and how we're reaching out to an audience that that earlier would come into a hotel banquet hall, but is now all over the place. In a sense, it's a big opportunity because you're reaching a much wider audience in that sense. But it's just about how creative the editorial team can be, but also how creatively brands can think, because of course most of what we're doing is content, and brands need to be open to the idea of creating content that is not plugging a brand completely in your face, which is always a bit of a turn off for anyone. So it's really a bit of rejigging of mindsets on both ends, on an editorial end and also on a brand end.
I have a question to ask you. It's a slightly tough one, but somebody from the audience sent it, and I think we'd love to know your views. Once magazines have moved to the digital and the social space, you are no longer in your own unique niche, but you are also today, I wouldn't say competing, but I would say you're also parallel to other digital platforms or social platforms. There are going to be travel influencers or wellness influencers, lifestyle influencers. How do magazines view, because and eyeballs, I think like you rightly said, it's no longer about circulation figures, it's about engagement and it's about eyeballs. How do you view this whole space? Do you feel that influencers will have their own niche and magazine titles will have their own niche? And I'm specifically saying titles because I don't necessarily refer to the print edition of that. So, Parineeta, what's your view on this? Do you think that it is going to be like a churn, or is it going to be a peaceful coexistence of influencers and magazines with each other? How do you see this pan out?
Okay, this is something it's a very interesting question, but like you said, a tough one. See, wellness influencers, travel influencers, the net is full of them. Absolutely, there is a plethora of information on the net. The advantage that titles will have is that, I mean, they will have to have more content. They will have to have content which is not so easily available, and it is a collection of the content in one place. Yes, we are all now going to be competing with all the digital influencers. That's a fact, and we all have to live with it. There will be a churn out. because a lot of I think the digital influencers are everybody today thinks they're a digital influencer. We know that there are only the few which are of any importance or should be taken seriously. So the title, if you have a certain niche, if you have a certain loyal base, if you're about able to give them content which is interesting for them and do a lot of engagement, you can exist peacefully. But yes, it's going to be way more tougher than when you're not doing a print edition. Just being digital is not going to be that easy because, like you said, you're competing with everybody who thinks they are either a beauty influencer or now, of course, the latest thing that has come up hugely is food influencers. Everybody and their neighbor has become a home chef and they are posting videos. So there will be a churn out. There is bound to be a churn out. And there are certain specifics. It's like I said, one should not look at numbers only. The important thing is for brands to not just go by numbers, but go by quality. But yes, we have a tough road ahead of us, that's for sure.
What are your views on this, Vita?
I absolutely, I'm with Parineeta 100%, where she says that the emphasis is going to be on quality. In a market where we're seeing so many influencers in the space, consumers are turning or are looking for reliable and trustworthy sources of information. And that's where, the basic tenets of journalism and research come to play. Where magazines don't just, or publications don't just put out content because they're doing some kind of partnership with a brand or just feel like writing about something. There's a big process that the information goes through before it gets to the reader. It's a process of fact checking, of research, of multiple layers of proofing before it actually reaches someone. So the quality of that content is must be definitely reliable and trustworthy more than anything else. And that's the edge that publications can offer over, say, an influencer who may not have such a rigid set of rules in terms of their content creation and content publication. So that's one for sure. But also, when it comes to influencers, and we're seeing this already happen where publications are working with influencers themselves to create content because you have something that you can offer and the influencer has something that they can offer. So it's just a happy marriage, content marriage for both to come together really, and sort of maximize their reach, their individual reach, to a collective audience. So I, of course, yes, we do see at brand events, you'll see a bunch of journalists and then a bunch of influencers, and they're all looking at each other and eyeballing each other because everyone thinks that they're better than the other. But really, I think for this market to exist, there's space for everyone. Because everyone's looking for different kind of content. But the edge that I think publications have is that they're putting out reliable and trustworthy information.
Okay, I have a very interesting question to ask you, and that's mainly coming from me. I had a conversation with a fashion magazine editor a few days back, and she said, we've done fashion shoots, and now 1/4 or 1/5 of the budget that it used to cost us to do shoots, and and we've realized that we were so wasteful in terms of spending money, energy, time, resources, carbon credits, in putting these whole visual things together. So do you see a sea change happening because of this pivot that has come to our lives? Do you think that therefore this will change magazines? Will you be able to put tomorrow together video format content for us, maybe in the next few years? Do you foresee magazines therefore becoming less sorry for using the word elitist and more democratic in terms of their content? How do you see yourselves evolving in terms of the next few years? And do you think magazine budgets, which were for shoots or travel, will come down, and therefore maybe easier for a lot more advertisers to reach you who earlier may have found your rates a little too high to approach you? Parineeta, what are your views on this?
Yeah, for sure. The kind of money that we used to spend on shoots earlier, I don't think we can spend even 1/10 of it for now. And it is pretty wasteful. Like if we were shooting with a big star, the entourage cost only would be a killer, which is not going to happen now. We would rather not shoot with a big star and shoot with a model who has less nakhras, to put it in the right of this thing, and a less big entourage than spend the kind of money that we were spending earlier. I think we were stupid. And at least COVID has made us realize that it doesn't matter. You can put somebody attractive on a cover. You don't need a face to sell your magazine. That is something that we're all going to realize now. And probably the stars themselves will also realize that they cannot travel with such a huge entourage. To put it very simply, there would be a case where you would have, I'm sure even Smita has faced that. We would be paying the driver of the star. And my question would be, like, don't you pay your driver? Why do I have to pay the driver when the driver is driving you to the shoot location? There were some really foolish expenses that used to come up, which are going to all go. We're all going to have to downsize. Not, I won't say downsize. Actually, downsize is a wrong word. We're all going to have to get more smart in the way we shoot, in the way we spend money. And now there is no shame in saying I don't have the budget. We just don't have the budget. Earlier, if I was shooting with a big star, I would feel, no God, how can I tell her that I don't have the budget? Now I had a request from somebody who wanted me to take them to a destination and shoot, and I just turned around and said, I don't have the budget, so I'm sorry, I can't shoot. So there is going to be, I think magazines are going to get more sensible in their spending. Because one, we don't have the budget. Secondly, it's a fact that brands are going to spend lesser and less. It's something we have to live with for the next, hopefully, only 1 year. And there is going to be a shakeout for sure.
Good to know that, Parineeta. Thank you for your candid, very, very candid response to that. What about you, Smita? I'm dying to know, have you also felt this change coming on board?
Yeah, no, definitely. You have to sort of, we realize that we have to do more with less, whether it's less time, less people, less resources, less money, all of that. So we've already sort of been quite creative when it comes to putting out content. Shoots have happened via Zoom. A lot of different things have happened because like Parineeta rightly said, there simply isn't that much of a budget available to work with anymore. So yeah, we're definitely going to see publications be a lot more careful with their money. I mean, that's an obvious one. But I think at least what we're seeing in terms of a market shift is that people are moving more to digital. And earlier there was this mindset of this prestige of print, where brands would pay a lot more to be in a magazine and would not pay as much to for a digital ad or something like that, even though a digital ad may be reaching more people. And so now we're seeing at least brands change that mindset, where of course it's lovely to be in a magazine and see your ad on glossy paper and all of that, but everyone is getting smart about how many people they can reach, and in a meaningful way. So it's a shake-up on both sides, really.
I like that. I like that thought of a shake-up on both sides. I think we all shake. So just tell me, coming back to more mundane things, and this is something that's always playing me as since my career began. Who do you think should be? And it's a very basic question, so don't laugh at me, please. Do you suggest we reach out to a features writer or a beat writer in the magazine first with our pitch and then to an editor? Because, I've always wondered about the protocol of such things, and I'm sure young people are equally confused. What do you think is the best way to approach? Do you approach the person on the beat, or do you approach the editor? How do you suggest the protocol should work? Ashmita, I want you to take this one first.
Sure. I mean, my advice would be approach the person who runs the beat, because they are going to be, if anyone is going to be a cheerleader about your specific brand, then it's the person who has expertise and knowledge about that field, about that beat. You may think that reaching out to an editor is the fastest way or whatever, but and the main editor has so much on their plates and is probably not going to look at an email, but a more junior person is likely to to look at all, each and every press release that they get, and will be able to sift through the ones that they think are really relevant. For example, uh, if someone sends the editor-in-chief of the magazine a very niche brand or a very niche story about fashion or about food, they may not necessarily be aware or about that specific trend in that beat. And they may think that, okay, whatever, this is not something that's relevant for me. But if you do send it to someone who looks at that beat, then they will be in a more knowledgeable position to say that, okay, this is a relevant story for me and I can see the story working for the brand in this way. And so then that more junior person may pitch it internally and see if it works. It's a slightly longer process, but I think it's a more sort of surefire way to get your brand noticed.
What do you suggest, Parineeta? Parineeta, your mic is off.
Okay. Yeah. So definitely the person who is on the ground, who is actually doing the articles and who's handling that beat is a very important aspect of who you should send it to. Even with me, when I get any information from any PR agency, I forward it to the person who's going to handle it. I would say actually you should send it to both. It's important. I'll tell you why. Because when I get a story, I usually just forward it. But if I feel it needs to be covered, I send it with a note saying, please cover or please discuss. So I think it's important for it to reach both the people. Because it can, I mean, just sending it to me or to the person, the editor, may not be enough. Because we may just not see it, we may ignore it, or we may forward it to the concerned person. But if there is something, if I read it and I see that this is relevant, then I always send it to my editor or the features writer with a note. But if I am not sure, then it just gets forwarded with no note, which means that the person at the desk has to decide yes or no. So that's the way we work.
We are almost at the end of this session, and I'd love to just end this on a very super positive note. So I'd love to know from both of you, has there been any new section that you have added to your publications in this particular period, in this time of innovation, something new that you have done or innovative you have done, not in terms of content but in terms of format, I would say, to your titles?
Okay, yeah. So what we have done is we have, of course, the content has always been the most important part. But what we have done is in terms of increasing the reach. Like I said in the beginning, we have actually tied up with a couple of corporates to send the magazines out to their relevant clientele. We've tied up with some financial institutions to send it out to their wealth clients. So what we have done is we have increased the reach of our magazine tremendously, which earlier, I mean, we were thinking to do it, but it was something that was on the back burner because we had a great magazine to look at. And, we said, oh, we felt very proud when the magazine came out of the printers and all, which is all not there now. At least for us, it's not there now. So we have increased our reach in a very large and innovative fashion. The important thing for us has been that wellness has been on everybody's mind. So the minute we talked wellness, a lot of doors opened. So it's been innovation has been the key with us. And in terms of
How would you?
Yeah, tell me.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so the content has been always very large. We have a very huge gamut of content that we can cover. because wellness is so encompassing. So we can cover a lot of content. So in terms of content, we can go crazy with anything that, like I said in the beginning, anything that makes you feel good is wellness. But one thing that we have added very majorly is now healing. People are looking at something that was just about wellness. The new buzzword now has become healing. So we've added a lot of healing into our magazines.
How about you, Smita?
We've been innovating quite a bit as well. Parineeta pointed out that wellness is a big sort of focus key area, and because travel to a certain extent has been curtailed. That's how we were exploring different destinations. So we introduced a new series called Good Vibes Only, where we were basically looking at the wellness philosophies behind different destinations. So we were studying, what wellness is to Japan, and what wellness is to a country like Croatia and Australia. And we basically picked different countries and really delved deep into their specific wellness philosophies. That was very well received. We did something, I think Yoga Day was 21st May, if I'm not mistaken. So what we did online on Instagram was 21 days of yoga, where we interviewed different people, from the yoga space. So and it was just for basic tips and tricks about what you can learn from yoga, as well as people's personal stories of how they came to the practice, and how the practice really sort of made a difference to their lives. And that really resonated as well quite a bit with a lot of people, with a lot of our readers. And another interesting thing that we did, when we came out with our June issue, which was the issue, after the one that we had just skipped because we couldn't put an issue out, was we turned Divya, who's the editor of the magazine, we turned her Ed's letter into an illustrated video. So we collaborated with an illustrator, and we got him to sort of visualize what she was talking about in that video, and it was voiced by Divya, but it was all illustrated really beautifully by this one illustrator called Gaurav Ogale. So yeah, just very unique and different ideas.
Okay, thank you for that. I am out of time, but I'm going to just come back to the topic, and I need one crisp answer sentence in this, because we are going to have to go offline in the next 2 minutes, 1 minute or so. What are your tips for securing a good cover story? Parineeta, if you could tell us that in one sentence or 2 sentences.
Tips for securing a good cover story is, you should just speak to the editor or the concerned person to know what the topic is that they are covering, and go with that. Because like I said, our cover stories, our shoots, everything is based on the topic that we are going to cover. And all magazines have an annual calendar. We also have, despite the COVID, we have actually created our editorial calendar. Understand our editorial calendar and pitch stories accordingly.
Smita, what about you?
Really, I would say, go back to the what I said earlier is do your homework and understand what the brand has been doing and, what they're going to be doing in the future, and then pitch a story, and really focus on the story as opposed to the specific brand.
Thank you so much, ladies, for this. It's been such a lovely, candid chat, and it's been so helpful for all of us. And I mean, every time I talk to people like you, I learn something new. So thank you, and it's wonderful to see you all going strong and keeping the flag of the magazines flying high. And it's been a lovely session for all of us today. Very insightful. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.
It's been great communicating and chatting with you both. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Thank you, Smita.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody, for being part of this PRPOI discussion. We'll see you next Saturday.